All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, the Gifted One here, Gifted Gamer 204, and today we're gonna be taking a look at this extended gameplay for the video game Hell Is Us. We did see the trailer for it at the PlayStation State of Play. I think it looked pretty good. It looked good, and so they giving us a deep dive. So I really want to check it out. But if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video as we get right into this one right here. So this is over on X, and shout out to Cammy over on X. He just gave us this quick rundown on this game. So as you can see here, it's not a Souls-like, which is a plus for me. I like that, so I'm more intrigued now in the game. 50% combat, 50% exploration. That's good. The drone companion with special combat abilities. Okay. Drone confirmed, not a yapper. Thank you. Because these games, man, they give you a companion and they just talking to you like throughout the whole game. Especially when it comes to like robots and things like that, like drones, robots. They just make them like just go on and talk to you like the whole game, which is really unnecessary. So I'm happy to hear that. Also has magic and weapon abilities, okay. No quest markers or icons. So that's telling me that you basically on your own, you know? You're just gonna have to be out there really like exploring. So that's good. That's good. I like that. Okay. Organic exploration with no hand holding and no silver platters. So there you go. So it's on you, basically, is what they're telling us. So I like that. And it's coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC in 2025. All right. So let's just jump right into the video. Let's see what they're gonna show us here. Okay. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Jacques-Latet. I'm the creative director and the art director on Hell Is Us. I hope you enjoyed the trailer that you've seen recently. Today we're back in the spotlight. We're going to show you a bit of gameplay, a bit more than what you've seen in the trailer, and I hope that you will enjoy this part greatly. Alright, so let's start with the basics. So Hell Is Us is set to be released in 2025. It's for pretty much everything, so Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and PC. So the game is a bit of a take back to games from the 1990s. We're a team of passionate people. The average on the team is like 20 years of development experience. So we're from a different generations, and we have a lot of love for how the games in the 90s were made and how they were played and experienced. Especially the fact that there was no hand holding, there was no silver plattering. You kind of had to figure stuff out by yourself. You were really in control of your exploration and your own discoveries. And this is what we're trying to do in Hell Is Us. Obviously, with modern flair and kind of like modern knowledge of game design and whatnot, but very much put you back in the driver's seat of your experience and of your exploration, and then the resolve and the joy of your discoveries. So, Hell Is Us takes place in a country called Hadia. Hadia is in the grips of a vicious civil war. You play the role of Remy. Remy is actually from Haiti. He was born there, but his mom smuggled him out at the age of 5, like it sometimes happens in those countries. And what I mean by that is Haiti is a hermit state, it's a turtle state, it's completely closed off on itself. Nobody goes out, nobody comes in. And that's why Remy's mom decided to smuggle him out so he can have a better life. He grew up in the foster home system, or the foster system in Canada. He's always wanted to come back to Haiti. He wants to find his parents again. He wants to kind of like confront them. He's got a lot of questions for them. He understands why they abandoned him, but yet, abandonment is pretty much the biggest trauma that a child can have. And there's like a loop that hasn't been closed properly for him towards this situation and his parents. When the game starts, Remy has finally been able to infiltrate Haiti during the brutal civil war that I was talking about. Remy is a OM peacekeeper. He quit his post. He went AWOL, infiltrated the country, and this is where the game starts. Remy remembers two things, and that means that players remember two things. It's that his village of birth was called Jova, and his father was the blacksmith of Jova. Those are the only clues you begin the game with, and these are the only clues that Remy also know. So equipped with this knowledge, with these clues, you begin the game and you try to find your way to Jova.
You must be lost to wander around Sinedra Forest. I'm afraid I have very little to offer. A group of strange-looking soldiers arrived here last night in an APC. Perhaps you can ask them for help. It's not the first time I've seen them. They always seem to be snooping around here for something. They parked their APC just beyond the woods, to the north. Once in the woods, follow the wind chimes. They will lead the way through. The gate to enter the woods is locked. Here, take this key to unlock it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about this design philosophy that I've mentioned earlier, which is, I said the word silver plattering is something that I had been thinking about for quite a few years, and the team as well, which is, if you look at modern day or contemporary adventure games and RPGs, pretty much everything is given to you on a silver platter. What I mean by that is when you explore, everything appears in front of you. You have your compass on top of you that's like a sixth sense, like a magical sense that detects, all the caves and all the cool stuff around you, the towers and this and whatnot. It just appears magically, and you have your map, and you have your mini map, and you have your quest markers, and you have your markers, and you can drop your own markers, and you have your quest journals, and it just never ends. And
this looks good.
What happens with that is that you're not truly exploring. You're just kind of like flying by wire, and when you find something, it's not really your discovery. It was kind of handed to you on a silver platter. So what you're looking at now is we're having a discussion with a bloke named Ernest Cadell. He's telling us certain information, and then he tells us it's quite far. You need to hitch a ride. You might find people that are willing to give you a ride. It's up to the north of my house, so you're going to have to use your compass, but your real compass, right, with the coordinates on it, north, south, east, west, blah, 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 and follow that. And he tells you that in the Lost Woods, in order to find your way out, just follow the wind chimes. He says, I've attached them there for my kids when they were young because they kept on getting lost in those bloody woods. And then he tells you, follow the sound of the wind chimes, and you'll find your way on the other side of the woods. That's how we do it. It's very organic. It's very realistic.
That's good. That sounds good to me.
Do the exact same thing. So the environment,
this game looks good.
The visuals of the game are not just there to illustrate; they're there to communicate. So you need to play the game. You need to open your eyes. You need to open your ears to what NPCs tell you, and you'll find your way, and you'll discover things, and you will truly own your discoveries and the great joy that comes with that.
Yeah, this game looks good.
So here's another scene or another section that could be considered part of our player plattering philosophy. So here's a puzzle, and there's obviously a solution to the puzzle, but nothing eventually is going to tell you, if the player ends up kind of like taking a bit of time to find a solution. There's not going to be any artificial kind of ways that are going to help him or tell him what to do. Remy's not going to start talking to himself, or i.e. talking to player with, little clues and whatever. It's really up to you to figure them out. And in the way that the player plattering is inserted in this, we have a good example here with your trusty drone named Cappy. By the way, you can tell now that Remy has his poncho, and he has his sword, and he has his drone. So it's after he's acquired them, right? Because at the beginning of the game, you saw he was not dressed like that. Now, there's a reason why he ends up dressed like this. There's a reason why he needs these things, this equipment, but we don't need to get into these details today. So anyway, there's an ancient language in the country, and you kind of find it throughout the game. And the drone has a software, one of his many softwares, and this specific one can translate the ancient language. So this puzzle, the way that it works, you need to kind of like explore and observe your environment around this specific puzzle in order to find the clues on how to solve it. You need the drone, your trusty Cappy, his name is Cappy, also there's something behind that, of course, and you translate those old texts. It gives you little passages of a poem or a psalm or something like that, and through what they tell you and the order in which they seem to have to be pieced back together, you find your clues on what this puzzle does and how to solve it. So again, the players are kind of like just led to their own devices, but things are there, the answers are there, and you have to explore. And again, I repeat it, you have to open your eyes and open your ears, and you'll figure it out.
Oh, I see. Yeah, this game looks good. So far, so good. I like what I'm seeing.
So by now, you've seen a lot of what I guess is like exploration and looking around and talking to people and doing puzzles and all that kind of sweet stuff. But if you've seen the trailer, you of course notice that there's another big aspect to the game, which is third-person melee combat. So we like to say that the game is 50% exploration and 50% combat. The game is not at all only about combat, and it's definitely not at all just walking around and figuring stuff out. It's the combination of both, and we also think that the way that we've combined them is quite refreshing and quite unique in Hell is Us. So, like I said, combat is an integral part of the game. I do want to emphasize now that we're not
Here we go.
Souls-like game. The game is a lot more mid-core. It's have fun, get in it, and hack and slash. It doesn't mean it's easy. It's not overly hard.
Thank you.
Learning curve, there's subtleties.
So it's a hack and slash, and it's not a Souls-like game. That's what he said.
Of Hell is Us. It's very crunchy. I think the friction is pretty good, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So there's a wide variety of enemies in the game. So we have kind of like the more common enemy type, which we call the Hollow Walker. So it's these kind of humanoid, bipedal, white enemies that you can see here with the holes in their faces and their chests and whatnot. So obviously there's a reason why they're called Hollow Walkers, and there's different types of them and different kind of tiers of strength and powers. But when you're facing pretty much the biggest threats in the game, it's what we call like a dual entity. So it's like a Hollow Walker has a haze.
Oh, so his abilities are at the bottom right.
What the haze represents, it's all part of the lore and what you will figure out in the game. But when you're facing a combo with these dual entities,
And the bottom left, yeah, okay, so switch the weapons, okay.
And different types like that. But that's when you really need to master the combat system. That's when you start having to use all the tools and techniques at your disposal. The drone has tons of skills to upgrade it, and the drone is very much your little sidekick to help you in fighting multiple enemies at a time. He's not a sidekick in the sense where he talks and he has an AI. He's very much a drone that has its own protocol to do this crowd management during the combat. So you have your different weapons, you have the Olympic skills attack to weapons, which is basically you consider your magic.
Okay, I like what I'm seeing. This game looks good.
But that's when you really need to master all the little subtleties of the combat system, use all the tools in your arsenal and at your disposition, and get in the melee with these kind of dual or triple or quadruple entities and being able to manage them and
Oof.
So like I mentioned,
Oh yeah, that looks good.
You can see a combat against a limbic entity that has multiple hazes attached to the Hollow Walker. That's when it gets really complex, it gets very overwhelming because you're alone, but you got your trusty little Cappy. So you need to use its skill. So for example, Cappy has a skill where you can distract an entity, either a haze or a Hollow Walker. You can use a forward charge, which is one of my favorite. You also have the Typhoon. You have a super dash skill, which is another one of my favorites. So you can start dashing sideways, forward, backwards, really, really fast. It gives you like this Japanese action game style. And then you also have the Olympic skill. So you need to
Ooh, I like that.
in the game, and you need to attach them to your weapons. And this is when you start getting powers that come from these weapons that allow you to take care of these enemies.
I like that.
Powerful and kind of like impressive ways. That's when the VFX and the sound effects all come together and give you this combat bang that we all like and love. Okay, so now let's take a little pause from the combat and let's go back to the investigation and the exploration.
That combat looks good. This game looks good. I gotta be honest, man. I like what I'm seeing. You know, it's definitely a combination of both things, like he said.
You're supposed to achieve at this specific moment, what you're actually looking for, where to look for it, and how to look for it, right? Remy and the players are at a ratio of information which is 1-1.
It's in Akasa Marshes. It's quite a ways from here.
So one of the tools that we're providing you to still kind of help you a bit and manage this 1-1 kind of like knowledge ratio is your data pad. Think of it as a bit your investigation wall, if you want, but in a digital 90s format. So your clues, your leads, the important people that are related to your investigation, trying to find your parents and a lot more eventually, are all stored here. They're linked together by the relationships, and now it's up to you to go and investigate about them.
Okay. Looks like you can pretty much talk to anybody.
So as you can see here, some of the areas can be quite
as well.
wide opened. This one here called the Casa Marshes is one of the bigger ones, and as I spoke quite a bit already, the game doesn't hold your hand or doesn't really tell you where to go. So out of your main leads or clues or ideas that you have in your head of what you're supposed to do or where you're supposed to go at any given moment, you will also be attracted by a lot of points of interest or just little things in the environment that pique your curiosity. And as you walk towards them or explore, that's when you'll start also making a ton of like peripheral or side discoveries on your own, things that you cannot solve right away, or things that you might think that there is a thing to be done with it when there's none, and it's all part of the fun stuff and the kind of like experience that we're providing in the game. So as you can see here, there's a tree with people that have been hung. Like I said, this
The graphics look good too.
war between two different ethnicities in the countries that are still basically the exact same people. And you found this tree. It's actually not part of the Golden Path or not part of something tremendously important in the game, but there's still something around it. There's still something to be found, and it's probably linked to more stuff that you can do in relation to it. But that you have to do your own exploration to find it, and even more of your own exploration and investigation to figure out what it's linked to and what you can do from it if you want. So
All
here
right.
we are in a dungeon in the game. So yes, the game has dungeons. This was really important to us. Like I said at the beginning, there's a bit of a love letter to games from the 90s. But one of the challenges was the game takes place in a contemporary setting. The game takes place in 1993. And yet we still wanted dungeons in the game, and I didn't want the dungeons to take place in an abandoned metro station or in an abandoned factory because it's the modern era. I still wanted the dungeons to be very ancient things, and this brings us to another really important aspect of the game, or one of the very important themes of the game, which is history, historicity, deep history. So history that goes even before history. So there's a lot of mysteries and a lot of lore, and the origin of what's going on in the country and the link to the Civil War is all tied to that deep history and also what has happened since. I won't get into too much details because that will be part of another video for you guys, but you can see a bit of it here, and it shows you the varied palettes and moods and atmospheres that we have in the game, which also I think is something quite interesting and unique that we're doing in Hell Is Us.
Yeah, that looks good.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for being with us. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm extremely grateful to have you guys following us, the team as well. So just to repeat, the game Hell Is Us will be released in 2025 Xbox Series, PlayStation 5, and PC. And there's a lot more coming soon about the game. This is just the beginning. We'll explain other aspects of it and get into sometimes a bit of the minutia. So stay tuned and speak to you soon. Thank you.
Nice. There it is. So overall, I'm impressed. I like what I saw. Everything about the game looks good. So I will be adding it to my wish list, and when it comes out, hopefully they keep showing us like more about the game. And yeah, it looks good. So those are just my thoughts. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace.